at The Adventures of Asher Robin, God's Pirate, Book 1, Dawn of the Greatest Treasure Hunt. Chapter 3, Back at Sea. Asher woke up that morning feeling just as excited to go as he had the night before. Shiloh woke up excited as well. He wanted to see his parents, to let them know that he was alive and safe. So, first thing in the morning, after a wonderful breakfast of bananas, they set to work in creating more pitch to seal their boat. So there was a few other repairs that had doing. It wasn't necessarily made for big waves anymore, and so they made sure to add another brace halfway through and across, and they they wrapped the paddles with banana leaves to make sure that it was strong and that it would hold water well as it pushed. And sure enough, the pitch had dried that evening, and that afternoon, and they hopped in and set sail. Asher looked back, looked at his island. He loved that island. He had spent so much time there, and he sure would come back. He had been sure to show Shiloh some really cool things about the island, like the pool in the middle that collected fresh water from rain, or the when he could drink from it, and the fountain that he could drink from as well, and showed him all the coconut trees and the hidden cave at the back, which he had been sure to explore and make sure there was nothing living in there, which there wasn't, except for a few crabs. And he had shown him the starfish that clung to the base of the cliffs, and how you could even jump off the cliffs if you were brave enough, but that was where a tiger shark liked to go around, and so he usually didn't swim there. Anyways, it was a wonderful island, and Asher would miss it, but he would be back. Shiloh thought maybe he would come back with him too someday, depending on how far away his home was. So they sailed. They had packed enough coconuts to keep them hydrated for a whole week. They had packed Asher Robin's sea treasure chest, which filled with dry fruit, and of course, Asher had put his Bible in there to keep it safe too. And
so his stuff? No, not his little cabin.
Actually, Asher had wondered if he was to go and evangelize to all the people of the pirates, how would he care? There's definitely times where he would gonna have to abandon everything and jump into the water, and he was a little scared to bring his Bible with him. So he decided to actually leave it behind. And so he left it safely hidden in his cabin, wrapped it in special wrapping so that moisture wouldn't get in, and he could come back for one day. But he had been sure over the last year to copy for himself certain scriptures that he knew were going to be encouraging. There was so much about the Bible that he didn't understand, and so he had read most of it, but there was still so much. Every time he read it, something new stuck out. He wrote down a few verses from the book of John, the book of Romans, and a few other places that he could reference.
The book of Acts?
The book of Acts, for sure. A few other places that he could reference. You might be wondering what he wrote it with. Well, he made for himself a little pencil out of charcoal and clay. And he was a very crafty little boy, but he had a year to himself to think of these things and get these things done. Anyways, he set sail with the little boy Shiloh. Shiloh was about 6 years old, so he was a little boy compared to Asher, who was 11. But they went to sea, and it was, at first the sea was very calm, and then the waves picked up in the evening, and then they settled down, and they were able, one person, Shiloh, fell asleep, and Asher Robin kept on rowing. When the sun rose, they noticed that they had veered slightly, and so they turned a bit, and then they just kept going, kept paddling and paddling until they could finally see, after 2 days of paddling towards the setting sun and paddling away from the rising sun, they could finally see another island. Well, this was actually really exciting for Asher because it was the first other land he had seen in his whole year there, and it was very exciting for Shiloh because he recognized it. It was his island. It was a very, very, very large island, one of the ones that were close to the mainland. Only a few days travel, There's a collection of islands that started, and lots of people lived there. There's villages and little towns, and it was actually a great place to live if it weren't for the pirates that came by regularly. So the little boy Shiloh was excited when he saw that it was his mountain range, or at least it was his island, which had tall mountains in the middle. "That's it," he said to Asher. Asher Robin grinned. He was excited to finally get there, finally do what he was supposed to do. Well, they pulled up to a little village. They docked Asher's boat, and they hopped out. Oh, their legs were a little tense from sitting so long and being cramped in that little boat, but they stretched them out, and Shiloh began to run. "Follow me," he said to Asher Robin. Asher ran after him, and the two jogged together, following Shiloh's lead until they came upon a little house that was by the shore. It was a wooden hut made of bamboo with a beautiful leafy roof. And there sat a woman, a wonderful-looking woman, who cried, "Shiloh!" She stood and ran, and Shiloh called, "Mama!" And they hugged and embraced, and she kissed him forever. It seemed forever. Oh, this did Asher Robin's heart so good. He knew he had done the right thing by bringing this boy back. But it also stirred with him something, not jealousy, but a sorrow, because he didn't remember being held by his mother that way. He wished he could. Well, as if understanding his thoughts, she ran toward him too and hugged him. Shiloh had explained briefly to her that this was a boy from another island who had rescued him and brought him here in his ship, in his little boat. And she was overjoyed. She invited Asher Robin to come in to stay with them for night and have to eat as much food as she could feed him. And he was delighted because he got to eat fish that he had never eaten before. These were fisher folk, and they had just done a fine catch in the morning. Sometimes they'd go out for a long time, or sometimes they'd go out just for a day to get what they needed. Well, and they also had some octopus, which Asher was excited to try too. He ate the tentacles, and it was actually very well prepared. Fried octopus and oil, and then they had plantain patties as well, and some rice. This did him so good to taste these things and eat these things. Oh, and Shiloh and his mama talked and talked and talked. "Just wait until your papa gets home," she said. Finally, when the sun was setting, he came in to eat supper with them, and he was so excited to see his little boy. You see, Shiloh's parents had almost wondered if he had died, but they were very excited to see that he was alive. "Praise God," she said. Asher Robin said, "Yes, it was him that drew me to do this, and I had just in my mind decided that I was going to be God's pirate." And they looked at him and said, "God's pirate? What is that?" I said, "Well, I was actually raised on a pirate ship," said Asher Robin. "My whole life I've been a pirate, but now that I read the Bible, I know that God doesn't like pirates, but I could be his pirate, and I could save the other pirates." Well, this made Shiloh's papa a little angry because he didn't think pirates were worth saving. He didn't like them at all. Well, everybody's worth saving, for God so loved the world. Everyone, right? Shiloh's mama seemed to agree after some time. Shiloh's papa just went quiet. Shiloh just smiled. He was so excited to be home, to be back in his house, eating his food. It was pretty settled that Asher Robin would live with them as long as he needed, and they even actually decided that they would invite him out to the next fishing trip. They were going on a small one soon, but then in a month they would go on a big one, deep sea. Well, that was the last one where they had been attacked by pirates, but this time they were planning on going to a different place where they hadn't heard of any pirate activity. They hoped they could bring in a lot of fish to catch. Now, Shiloh's mama would typically stay behind, but she determined that she would go with them. And so the family set out with another hired hand. They set out with great nets and fishing rods, and they went out to that portion of the sea. And it is here that I must tell you that, of course, they were found by pirates. Not on the first night, not on the second, but on the third. They could see it coming around. Well, they were on the lookout, and so they drew in their nets and started away. Oh, Asher's heart leapt within him. That was them, he said. Those were the people that he felt called to be a missionary to. he was called to be God's pirate, and that meant he had to do piratey things, and that meant he had to be with pirates. Well, he loved Shiloh, he really did, and he loved his parents, but he knew that he must go. And so he told them, and they thought that was ridiculous. He wouldn't stop for that, but he said that he would swim. So he told Shiloh's papa that he could have, if he could just keep his boat there just in case he needed to get back to his island, he would come here again. Shiloh hugged Asher Robin goodbye. It wouldn't be goodbye forever, or for very long, for they would see each other soon, very soon. Asher Robin then jumped into the ocean. He swam and swam and swam, and finally he got there. And this is where we'll have the portion of the chapter where he is found by the pirates. They haul him up into their boat. The captain says, "Why did you swim here from that fishing vessel?" And the pirate said, he said, "Well, what would he would swim. Oh, you know what? No, actually, instead of him swimming, let's not do that. Let's say he and Shiloh, they quickly go back to their village to warn the other people that they did see a pirate ship. So everybody brings in their boats, and they turn out the fires in the village, and they wait. And Shiloh wonders. He said he's never been on the other side of a raid before, just waiting for it to happen. All the people didn't have very many weapons. They didn't have very many defenses at all. He was wondering, there must be something they could do. He just had to sit there and wait and hide and hope the pirates didn't come to your house, bury your gold and hide your treasure. This seemed so silly, but all the more reason why Asher knew he needed to save these pirates. He needed to tell these pirates about Jesus so that they could stop doing what they're doing and stop hurting people. While the pirates came, they could hear cannon fire, just one, as a warning that they were there and that they had this power of gunpowder behind them. And then, rowing in small boats, a band of pirates came, 2 boats filled with some gruffy-looking men. Oh, they stepped onto the land, and it was nighttime. They had their own torches so they could see. Oh, you could hear them kicking over things and rustling around and taking crates of food and barrels of drink, and all sorts of things were going on. But the Asher Robin was left Shiloh's hut went unnoticed. Asher Robin then decided, well, this was it. This is chance. If he could sneak onto the pirate ship, maybe he could start telling those pirates, changing those pirates. So he bid Shiloh and his family goodbye.
How will he get help?
Well, he's just by himself right now. As he gets older, I guess he gets more help. But anyways, so Asher Robin, he left Shiloh's hut, and he wandered, almost done the chapter. He wandered toward one of the little boats, and he sat there. And then he was thinking, oh, this is kind of foolish. When they get back, what are they going to do? And there was already some crates on board, and so he decided just to hide behind it. It was night, and he was small, and maybe he wouldn't be seen. Well, he was right. After about an hour, the boat was all loaded up with stinky, smelly, dirty pirates, and they didn't notice him. They threw a net over top of the stuff they had gotten, barrels and boxes and all sorts of things that they had stolen from this wonderful little fishing village. And then they set sail. And then they started to row back to their main ship. And Asher Robin was huddled against the floor, huddled against the edge of the ship, with a barrel next to him and a box next to him and a fishing net over him and a net over him, and they didn't even notice. And that is how Asher Robin snuck aboard his first pirate ship. And that was how Asher Robin snuck aboard this pirate ship. And soon, that pirate ship would become his own.